I'm here. I'm going to be working on a 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee. I'm going to be confirming or diagnosing and then confirming what the client already told me would be a power steering leak from the power steering high pressure line. So I believe he already has the part, and I made sure to tell him to also get the genuine power steering fluid. So hopefully he has all that ready to go. And if I can confirm that the part he's claiming is leaking, then we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to replace that part. There's not a whole lot of YouTube videos out there showing this, and so I figured this would be a great opportunity to also record that, so that other people out there with the same car, maybe the tools and the know-how, can knock this out. That's also part of the reason why some of the other videos or repairs that I've done don't get uploaded, is because there's just a ton of YouTube videos out there, and mine would just be another one. You know, it'd be like a needle in a haystack. It's kind of no different. So anyway, as soon as I get there, I'll start recording again, so I'll catch you guys there. All right, so we got to the Jeep, and trace down the, this is all wet here from him overfilling it a couple times. He said he fills it up on a daily. Trace the line down to the bottom there, and everything looks pretty dry actually. In fact, what's this for? Okay, I don't know what this is about, but from the feed line up until the metal portion here, it's all dry, and all this is dry here up until the motor as well. So I looked at the return line, which is this one right here, and the return line is the, out of the two lines there that are clamped, it's the second one in the back, the furthest one in the back. And if you trace that one, you'll see that it comes to this point right here, and then there's a fitting where the line becomes a solid line again, and that's where the leak is. So it's all leaking there. So I've got to take a lot of this off here to actually confirm if he has to get the whole line or just part of the assembly. So I want to do that, make sure he doesn't have to buy more than what he needs. So I'm gonna get started on that. Alright, so we gotta remove the bumper, so that's what I'm gonna show you now. Alright, so we took the bumper off, and we have the small radiator for the power steering. It was just hanging loose, and the culprit seems to be right here in the two rubber hoses here. So the feed line, this is what comes directly from the motor, the power steering motor or pump, and then this line here feeds the rack itself. So it's pretty wet here at this seam. The same goes for this one, and all this here is all wet. Now all the gunk that's piled up right here, if you put this back in place and all the wind is blowing, you know, leaking power steering, it's gonna show that it's leaking from this area. So I'm gonna go ahead and recommend that we replace these. I do have hose clamps, so we can change this out. But the one in the back is going to be a little bit more of a pain, because that hose has a this hose has a 17 millimeter nut on it. So I mean, You could replace it. Wait, am I looking at the right one? Yeah, this one right here. This one has a 17mm nut on it that threads onto the hard line. So that could be replaced. That's probably what I'm gonna recommend he does. But the whole system's empty right now, so there's no indication of exactly where the drops are coming out of. Alright, here's an update. Alright, it's not leaking that much. Alright, so I went ahead and took the, I'm gonna tilt it upside down. I took the power steering radiator off, and as I said before, the leak was coming from this hose here, and then the rubber hose that was connecting up here. So I sent the client to go pick up just the generic 6-inch hose for one of the lines, and then the line that goes right to the rack in the back, that way back over here, right to the hard line where it threads in. I had him go get that one as well. That was gonna be a little more pricier, and he'll have to actually get, you know, the correct one. But all right, so we got an update here. All right, so this line here hold on. So this line here is held in with a bracket, a 10mm, right in that hole. It goes underneath this, and it threads into the rack right there. So this line, I went ahead and I took it off. And the other end of it is this long hose here that connects to the radiator, to that lower pipe. So you see it has an end here that it was spun freely on this end, on this flared end. It spun freely, so I was spinning it, not really understanding why it wasn't coming off, but that's why I took the whole thing off, and then I realized that it's got a small clip in here that falls into place. So that keeps this in here. So all you have to do is yank that out with a small pick tool, and then you can separate that. And then this is what we're going to be replacing. One thing I forgot to mention is that this line actually it sits like that, and then there's a small clip here that holds both of the lines together. You just have to pop one end of it, and it'll come off. So you just put in a flathead, and you can pop this off. So we put that to the side, yank this out, and before I originally came here, the more common power steering leak that these Jeeps, this generation Jeep suffers from, is from, got my flashlight, is from this area right here. And as you can tell, it's actually already starting to rust at the clamp. So what happens is that a lot of the water, the moisture, gets caught inside that rubber clamp, and it starts rotting out the line. So that's one. The other one is right over. The other one's right over here, and you can see right in the back here that the line is rotting again at this section. So it's not leaking as of right now, so it's not something that the client has to go ahead and replace, but I will let him know. So So I used hose clamps to put the hoses back together. 2 new hose clamps holding the hoses to the power steering radiator, and 1 hose clamp holding that shorter hose onto the feed line for the hard line that goes from the power steering pump, the motor, all the way to the radiator. So that's the 6-inch hose that I used. 2 hose clamps, 1 on either end, and then 1 hose clamp on the specialty hose. So I put that all back together. I put some zip ties on the radiator per the customer's request. This way he wouldn't have the power steering radiator dangling like I found it. So these are all things that I showed him, and I told him, you know, we can do quick fixes like that, because the brackets themselves that hold that radiator, that small radiator, into place, which is essentially into the other into the coolant radiator. You just push it into the fins and it holds onto there. So he said, yeah, instead of hitting another pothole and having that fall out, he said, can you just zip tie it? And I said, sure. Hold on. We turned the car on. Well, we filled up the reservoir first until the fluid stabilized. So essentially where it didn't go back down via gravity. And then we turned the car on, and immediately the fluid started coming down. So I went ahead and kept pouring, and we just kept repeating all the way to turning the steering wheel all the way to the right, all the way to the left, right, left. We did that about 10 times on either side, and then we let the car idle for a little bit.